Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts, America's Still Beautiful podcast, a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts, America's Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today.
Welcome to GSMC, America's Still Beautiful podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Alyssa Jo. Hello, everybody. How is it going today? I hope you're having a wonderful day so far. Happy Thursday, if you're listening to this on Thursday, or just happy day, happy week. I hope you're feeling good. I hope you're feeling positive. I am super excited today because I am actually back in my hometown recording this podcast. I'm officially graduated from my program. Woohoo! I am so excited and happy to be done. It's a little bit bittersweet, I'm going to admit, but I am happy to be done, and I decided to come home for a little while. I hadn't seen my family in quite some time, so I'm gonna be here for a little while and just spend time unwinding and figuring out what is next. But with all that being said, I'm just super excited to be here. I love being at my hometown. I love being at my family's house and just hanging out, and it just feels extra special, extra good to be doing this podcast in my bedroom in my hometown. So that's where I'm at today. That's how I'm feeling. I hope you're having a wonderful day as well. I hope you're feeling positive and good and spreading kindness every chance that you get. You already know why you're here. It's to listen to feel-good, positive news stories that I get to share with you. And I'm super excited to do so. I have so many good ones, which I know I say that every single episode. But seriously, I have some really, really good ones this time, I promise. I have a really special story that is going to be celebrating something very special. I don't want to give it away yet. I also have some really inspiring stories. If you're feeling if you're lacking motivation these days, I have a really inspiring story for you that is super cool. I have a story about a magical cave that has healing powers. I'm not even kidding. I also have a story about a self-powered wildfire detector. Yes, a self-powered wildfire detector. It could be making a huge difference in our world. So those are a few of the stories that I have to share today. Get excited. It's going to be a good episode. I'm feeling good. I'm excited to share these. So let's just jump right into it. Now, what I'm going to start with today this is pretty cool. Okay, this is pretty cool. So Maps is now letting you see your hometown and how it's moved across 750 million years of continental drift. Okay, this is pretty cool. So an interactive online map now. It allows you to punch in your home address and this global geography of whatever happens, and we see what's gone by and how the Earth has changed over 750 million years. And you can see the results. It can be super surprising. So 600 million years ago, for example, when multicellular life was just beginning to emerge in the ocean, our nation's capital of Washington, D.C. was smushed into the coast of West Africa as part of the jumbled ball of land stretching to the South Pole that would eventually break off, drift away, and form the Americas. Pretty cool, right? So the love labor of paleontologist, his name is Ian Webster. So the map tool is attached to the world's largest digital dinosaur database, also created by Ian Webster. And he drew a geographical data from another resource called Ancient Earth. So if you want to go check these out, you can literally Google digital dinosaur database and Ancient Earth, and there's a bunch more information on those sites. But it was created by the paleographer Christopher Scoties, And Ancient Earth was a combination of work 30 years in the making called the Paleo Maps Project. So they came together, and this project allows users to enter most towns, cities, and countries into this search bar. And then a 3D rotatable globe will show you approximately where they were on the 750 million year timeline. And then Ancient Earth comes with a variety of tools that allows you to learn interesting information, or you can even like select a time period based on the emergence of specific features, such as like the first flower to ever bloom on Earth, if you want to go check that out. So given that Ian Webster is an expert in dinosaurs, any location you enter in the search function will also provide you with a list of dinosaurs that would have been in your neighborhood, all in-line links that particular dinosaur's profile on his database. And then all in all, it represents an incredible educational resource, right? This is so cool. Like, I get super excited about this, but if you are, if you have younger children and stuff that just even slightly into space, like this is a super cool educational resource for children and adults that are interested in this, geography and all these cool things. Like, it's just cool to check out to see what was there. I'm definitely going to log on and see what kind of dinosaurs were roaming in my backyard as I sit in my hometown right now. So even with this like modern GPS technology and the programs like Google Maps, well, globes and two-dimensional paper maps continue to shape our perception of the sphere we call Earth, of course. But a great example of our reliance on maps is the Chinese word for China, and that's called a Middle Kingdom. So this perception as China being the land between heaven and earth is reflected on Chinese maps. So it's where the Pacific Ocean that occupies the right central areas instead of the Atlantic, and then where Asia and Africa clog up the left side with the other continents situated to the right. I hope you were picturing a map in your head as I read this out to you. So there's another example that can be found in maps that's dated in the 1980s or even earlier. And when given the importance of the northern hemisphere to most scholars, the equator was positioned at 10 degrees north longitude, making the continents of the southern hemisphere appear smaller. So Ancient Earth is the ultimate in perspective shifting educational tool, especially if you have kids or if you were, maybe you're still teaching your kids from home right now. I don't know what that whole looks like with the pandemic. So maybe you were teaching your kids at home. Add this into your little curriculum. It is so cool. It is so hands-on. You get to see a lot of amazing things, and it's very, very educational. And it's really basic to follow as well. So people are just amazed that these geologists collected enough data to actually plot, a home 750 million years ago, so that you would just enjoy it too. Like, how cool is that? So take advantage of what these amazing geologists and scientists and everyone have done and come together to create. Super educational, super cool to see. So I wanted to start today's episode off with that since I am sitting in my hometown. It just I don't know. It just made me feel like I need to go check that out as I'm sitting here, and I saw that story and got excited. But now I do want to share with you a little animal story for you, which is pretty cool. So no male northern white rhinos are left. Okay, that sounds really sad, but there are 10 viable eggs offering hope to this species through embryo transfer. Cool, right? So the northern white rhino of Africa, it could come back from the absolute brink of extinction because this third round of 10 eggs were successfully extracted from the last 2 surviving members of the subspecies. Crazy. So the eggs were taken from 2 females. Their names are Nadine and Fatou, and they were unable to carry a baby to term. This is at a conservancy in Kenya. So the eggs were flown immediately to Italy to be artificially inseminated with frozen sperm collected from white rhinos' bulls, and then of which none remain on this planet. So scientists hope to create the viable embryos that could be carried to term by surrogate females. Isn't this crazy? So the most likely candidate would be the southern white rhino, thousands of which roam the plains of sub-Africa, but it would depend on the rapid perfection of in vitro fertilization, as well as keeping Najin and Fatu alive during this time. So there's a lot that's going to play into this, but this is pretty interesting. And the last male northern white died in 2018 in Sudan, and now 1 year later, those involved in the project successfully created 2 viable embryos before freezing them in liquid nitrogen. So many scientific things. But this controversy in Kenya was founded to try and save the subspecies from extinction, with the last surviving 2 males and 2 females flown in from a zoo in the Czech Republic in 2009. It's kind of an emergency thing. So pretty cool information. I'm sure I will have more feel-good stories about this particular subject in the future when we find out more information. But I thought I would share that with you. Now, it is time for a little bit of a break, but don't go anywhere. Like I said at the beginning of today's episode, I have so many good stories. I am going to jump into a very special story that we can be celebrating right now, as well as an inspiring story. I got that special K to tell you about. I got self-powered wildfire detectors to tell you about. Lots of cool stuff is coming your way today, so do not go anywhere. I will be right back.
The GSMC Life and Happiness podcast takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible. Download the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back to GSMC, America's Still Beautiful podcast. I'm your host, Alyssa Jo. Hello, everybody. Okay, we are back from the break. I was just telling you about how many great stories I have to share with you today. So I'm going to stop rambling and start telling you, okay? So I do want to share this really cool thing that we get to celebrate, and that is the World Health Organization and everybody else is celebrating the news that the African continent is finally free of the wild polio virus. So this is 24 years after Nelson Mandela helped Rotary International launch its Kick Polio Out of Africa campaign. And it is official. This is after decades of work. It is finally gone from the continent. So today is a very historic day for Africa. They say they have successfully met the certification criteria for wild polio eradication with no cases reported in the region for 4 years. Pretty cool. So that was Professor Rose Ghana from Balik, who heads the African Regional Certification Commission for polio eradication. So the success comes after a very exhaustive, decades-long process of documentation and analysis of polio surveillance and immunization of the region's 47 member states, which included conducting field verification visits to each country. A lot of work goes into this. So let me give you some more background story here. In 1996, African leaders of every country committed to eradicate polio, and at the time when the virus was paralyzing an estimated 75,000 children annually. So there is no cure for polio, but the disease can be prevented through administration of a simple and effective vaccine. And then Nelson Mandela's call that year mobilized African nations across the continent to step up their efforts to reach every child with the polio vaccine. And the last case of wild polio virus was detected and defeated in 2016 in Nigeria. So officials of the World Health Organization say that polio eradication efforts have prevented up to 1.8 million children from crippling lifelong paralysis and saved approximately 180,000 lives. that is definitely something to celebrate. So Dr. Matisho Moeti, I'm probably not saying that right, but he says this is a momentous milestone for Africa. Now, future generations of African children can live free of wild polio. This historic achievement was only possible thanks to the leadership and commitment of governments, communities, global polio eradication partners, and philanthropists. I pay special tribute to the frontline health workers and vaccinators, some of whom lost their lives for this noble cause. So this announcement just came earlier this week on Tuesday, and it marks only the second eradication of a virus from the face of Africa since smallpox 40 years ago. So just more and more to celebrate. And they say while the eradication of wild poliovirus here is a major achievement, they are saying that 16 African countries have reported cases of CVD-PV2. So it is rare, but these vaccine-derived polioviruses cases can occur when the weakened live virus used in the oral polio vaccine passes among under-immunized populations, and then over time it changes to a form that can cause paralysis. So if a population is adequately immunized with polio vaccines, it will be protected from both wild polio and circulating vaccine-derived polioviruses. So Africa has demonstrated that despite weak health systems, significant logistical and operational challenges across the continent, African countries have collaborated very effectively in eradicating wild poliovirus. Exciting, exciting, exciting. They are saying thanks to the dedication of governments, the World Health Organization, Rotary International, UNICEF, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, polio cases have been reduced worldwide by 99.9% since 1988. And only Afghanistan and Pakistan still have cases of this wild virus. So they say that the expertise gained from the polio eradication will continue to assist the African region in tackling COVID-19 and other health problems that have plagued that continent for so many years. And this will be a true legacy of polio eradication in Africa. Super exciting. I know it's not a complete positive story about the pandemic, but it is a positive story about another very important health issue that I love to share right now during these times. We need this kind of motivation and positivity to keep us going and forward. So there you have it, that very momentous milestone that we can be celebrating right now. Now, let's see here. I want to talk about the self-powered wildfire detector, which could help fight the spread of deadly blazes. And this is all using the motion of trees for power. How cool is that? So a team of scientists at Michigan State University have developed a remote forest fire detector and alarm system that's powered by nothing but the movement of the trees in the wind. So there's this new study. It was published in the Journal of Advanced Functional Materials, and the battery-free device generates electrical power by harvesting energy from the sporadic movement of the tree branches from which it hangs. So it is believed to be first of its kind, and the device is the size of a soup can. It is literally so small, and guess how much it costs? Only $20 to produce, while likely to be much cheaper than manned patrols, of course, searching from fire watchtowers. And it's more reliable than satellite monitoring, which may be hindered by weather or fire smoke. So pretty cool. So it's the self-powered sensing system could literally continuously monitor the fire and environmental conditions without requiring maintenance after deployment. And for this team, the tragic forest fires in recent years across the American West, Brazil, and Australia were driving forces behind this new technology. And they believe that early and quick response to forest fires will make the task of extinguishing them easier and significantly reducing the damage and loss of property and life due to these wildfires. We've had quite the year with wildfires, as we all know. So this is a very positive, cool thing that they have come up with. And the traditional forest fire detection methods, so like satellite monitoring, ground patrols, and watchtowers, are highly labor intensive, they are expensive, and somewhat inefficient depending on the scenario. So these current remote sensor technologies are becoming more common, but primarily rely on battery technology for power. So that's why this one is so special and cool. So although solar cells have been widely used for portable electronics or self-powered powered systems, it is challenging to install these in a forest because of the shading or covering of the lush foliage. So this technology, so it's called TENG technology, and it's short for multi-layered cylindrical triboelectric nanogenerator. That's why they call it TENG. It converts external mechanical energy, such as the movement of a tree branch, into electricity. Cool, hey? So the simplest version of the TNG device consists of two cylindrical sleeves of unique material that fit within one another. And then the core sleeve is anchored from the above, while the bottom sleeve is free to slide up and down and move to side. And it's constrained only by an elastic connective band or spring. And as the two sleeves move out of sync, the intermittent loss of contact generates electricity. So the MC-TENG stores its sporadically generated electrical current in a carbon nanotube-based micro supercapacitor. Big words today. The researchers selected this technology for its rapid charge and discharge times, allowing the device to adequately charge with only short but sustained gusts of wind. And then at a very low vibration frequency, the MC-TNG can efficiently generate electricity to charge the attached supercapacitor in less than 3 minutes. So the researchers outfitted this initial prototype with both carbon monoxide and temperature sensors, and the addition of temperature sensor was intended to reduce the likelihood of a false positive carbon dioxide reading. So this studies, the authors hope that to field test a production device to monitor forest environment conditions and test scenarios, making use of materials that mimic a real fire. And then the team also aims to add additional functionality, allowing the device to be adapted for the weather and environmental conditions where it's deployed. Positive news, people. How exciting is that? Okay, well, you know what time it is. It is time for another break. But like I say every single time, do not go anywhere. I have some of the best stories now to round up today's episode, including a special cave that is said to be magical. I'll tell you about that, as well as a very inspiring story about a man who is just making his dreams come true. And I think it's a motivating, inspiring story. So if you have any sense of lack of motivation these days, stick around and listen to that story, because I promise it's going to perk you up and just give you the motivation to get up and do whatever it is you dream of doing. So don't go anywhere. I got lots more to share with you. I will be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to GSMC, America's Still Beautiful podcast. My name is Alyssa Jo. I am your host, in case for some reason you forgot. Hello. Okay, so I've been teasing these really awesome stories that I want to share with you to round off today's episode. So I'm going to stop teasing you, and I'm just going to share them. And I hope they inspire you. I hope it makes you feel good, because that's what all this podcast is about, is to make you feel good. Forget about those old negative news headlines and just focus on the good, the positive. That's why I love doing this podcast so much. Okay, so there has been a forgotten English rainbow cave okay? And it's said to have healing powers. Now, keep an open mind as I read this story, okay? Keep an open mind, people. Let's see kind of, what it's all about before you go jump into conclusions that it may not have healing powers. Sometimes it's just fun to think that it has healing powers, okay? Just bear with me. Keep an open mind. So there has been these stunning pictures, and it shows the inside of this so-called Forgotten Sea cave, and it's thought to have special healing powers, okay? So it's literally this like multicolored cave, and it was once one of Britain's most mysterious sites, as they call it, and it attracted huge numbers of visitors during the 17th and 18th centuries. So in those days, pilgrims and the sick would make their way to the cave to drink healing waters from the holy well. Cool, right? Okay, open mind. So now in recent decades, it's become largely secluded and unknown. So most tourists now visiting Holywell in Cornwall, England, are unaware of its hidden wonders. So it's a site, and it's called St. Cuthbert's Cave. So it creates mineral deposits, leaving its stone red, green, blue, and yellow. I am definitely going to post this picture up on our social media pages for you so you can get a little bit of an idea of what this looks like. But go Google it if you want to go see more pictures of it, because it is stunning. But like I said, I will post this up on our social media just so you can get an idea, for you can see it. You can put the picture to the story because it's really, really beautiful. And I guess the spring water, it creates what was once described as the elixir of life. So in writings from the 19th century, it was said to contain life-healing minerals that trickled through the cave's natural limestone. I think this is pretty cool. So John Cardell Oliver's, his guide to Newquay from 1877 gave a very detailed description of the cave. And this was all this is from 1877. Very long time ago. So he wrote, this is what he said. He says, the legend respecting the well is that in olden times, mothers on Ancesian Day brought their deformed or sickly children here and dipped them in, at the same time passing them through the aperture connecting the two cisterns, and thus, it is said, they became healed of their disease. This well has nature only for its architect, no marks of man's hand being seen in its construction. A pink enameled basin filled by drippings from the stylitic roof forms a picture of which it is difficult to describe the loveliness. What wonder then that the simple folk around should endow it with mystic virtues. What wonder then that simple folk around should endow it with mystic virtues. So that's what he said. The spring water has been described as tasting like cereal milk and forms shallow pools within the basins before trickling out from the cave and onto the outside beach. Cereal milk, people, that sounds healing to me. I hope I'm not weird saying this, but I think I'm not the only one that loves cereal milk. It's the best, right? Especially if you have a sugary cereal. I guess obviously, right, Alyssa? Come on. But come on, if this is literally tasting like cereal milk, sign me up. I want to get healed. So unlike other so-called holy wells that are in the UK, the spring water in this cave is washed out twice every day. So when the tide comes in and then the floods the cavern again. Pretty cool, right? So it's not just sitting there, cereal milk. I guess it's refreshed cereal milk. That sounds gross now that I'm saying it. But its popularity was also recorded by William Hales in the History of Cornwall, which he compiled from 1685 until 1736. And in his book, he wrote, "The virtues of this water are very great. It is incredible what numbers in summer season frequent this place and waters from counties far distant." There you have it. Go fly to England. Go drink some healing power cereal milk from this rainbow-colored cave, and then shoot me a message and tell me what happens. Because I would love to know. I would love to know. I would also really love to know what kind of cereal milk it tastes like, if it really tastes like that. So go there, go get healed, and then shoot me a message and tell me everything about it. I want to know. If I don't get there first, because maybe I'll get there first. All right. Okay. So now I'm going to tell you this story that's super inspirational. At least I thought it was super inspirational. It is about this man. His name is Cameron Smith. And he is literally the perfect role model for why you should never give up. Okay. So Cameron Smith, he made national headlines back in September of 2018. Maybe you've heard of this story, but he built his own spacesuit. Yes, he literally built his own spacesuit with the goal of testing it 63,000 feet. So that's a height at which no human can survive without specialized equipment. So he first fell in love with outer space after his father showed him videos of the moon landing just as he was an 8-year-old boy. And then throughout his life, he would write letters to retired astronauts and NASA officials asking for advice on how he could get into space. And then when he was left unsatisfied by their answers, he decided to take matters into his own hands and build a DIY spacesuit. Talk about an intense Pinterest board, I have to say. Like, is there even things on Pinterest for a DIY spacesuit? I'm sorry, that's where I always go for my DIY projects. I'm just assuming, maybe? Okay, anyways. So for 8 years, Cameron Smith did use everything from zip ties to pie tins to motorcycle batteries and aquarium pumps to construct his spacesuit. Sounds pretty freaky to me. So despite how he endured multiple failures in the process, he did finally succeed in building a $1,000 suit that he would later put to ultimate test in a hot air balloon flying above the Earth's surface. So although he only managed to reach 5,000 feet in the balloon, he is determined, and, his determination and his triumph has since become an inspiration to countless amount of people. So not only that, he is apparently still building and testing a spacesuit with the aim of one day reaching his 63,000 feet. So he is still on the mission. He's still motivated. He's still going for it. I love it. I love that he's taken his entire life to build a DIY spacesuit because he is dedicated to it, and it is super cool. There's actually a video up online. It's literally how one man built his own spacesuit. That's what it's called. Go online, check it out if you want to see more information on him. He's pretty incredible. But this story has went viral because of his determination and his motivation to just reach that goal. Even if he's not there yet, the fact that he's still trying, he's dedicated so much of his life to building this suit. It's just super cool that, he has not given up, and he's going to continue to not give up until he gets his way. So thought that was an inspiring story. I hope it inspires you to keep on track, not give up, because anything is possible. And even if you don't reach your goal right away, remember, every small victory is still a victory. Well, that is all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode as much as I enjoyed sharing today's episode. Thank you so much for listening to GSMC, America's Still Beautiful podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Alyssa Jo. I so appreciate you being here, seriously. So please do not forget to hit that subscribe button. I got new episodes every Monday and Thursday. Head over to our social media channels because I update those regularly. We got Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I will be posting pictures of that secret healing cave filled with cereal milk. So go check that out on our social media pages, like and follow. And then, of course, you already know what to do. Do not forget to leave a 5-star review. It helps a ton, and I absolutely love reading the reviews. It makes my day. So do not forget to leave a 5-star review, and it'll put an extra big smile on my face. So thank you. Well, thank you so much for being here. Stay positive, stay happy, stay healthy, and stay motivated today. Okay, have a great day, everybody. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts, America's Still Beautiful podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows. From the GSMC Podcast Network, from social media news to marketing news and even weird news, The GSMC Podcast Network has you covered. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts, America's Still Beautiful podcast.